Welcome back, listeners. This is Pulkit Garg, your host on We Are Listening, and today we are embarking on an exciting exploration into the future of wellness with insightful Sidhharrth S Kumaar, a pharmacist turned astronumerologist and a music therapist. As we dive into the wellness and aura economy, we will not only cover the untapped potential globally, particularly in India, but also support with insights with compelling statistics shared by McKinsey and Global Wellness Institute and few other research papers that we studied. Um, before we begin, Siddharth, why don't you share your own experience of the wellness industry?
Very well true. So if I have to start with, I will begin with this is something which everyone says. The next decade is going to be of India. I just humbly add one thing. The next decade is going to be of Indian intellectual heritages, which combines the wellness economy. So the next decade is going to see a number of companies, a number of players making significant impact on the world arena, leveraging the potential of intellectual heritage of India, be it Ayurveda, be it astrology, be it spirituality, be it natural healing practices, be it wellness tourism, or be it everything.
Amazing. So that the wellness industry is currently valued at a very staggering number of $4.5 trillion, and McKinsey projects that it is growing at an average annual growth rate of 5% to 10%, making it an $8.5 trillion economy by 2027. And they say that India is going to be $1 trillion economy. So out of 8.5, India is going to be contributing approximately around $1 trillion to that. What factors make India this part of this immense growth, and how can individuals or aspiring entrepreneurs in the Indian startup ecosystem tap this potential?
That too, with the due respect to the numbers by McKinsey or GWI, I personally see these numbers are underrated. The simple reason is that the wellness economy, if we see globally, are well scattered. This is not something which is very organized. And when we think of any industry segment which is staggered, which is say quite widespread, the number slightly becomes lower on the side.
Mhm.
I personally see also the growth to be much more higher, at least double-digit growth. I'm going to expect. The simple reason is that there are two reasons. The countries like India and the other developing world are moving towards a Gen Z economy or Gen Z people with a dominance of them. They have purchasing power and they have awareness to go for these services. Second thing is that developed world like US and Japan are going moving towards genetic population, and they have their own wellness needs and requirements. And this is going to be after a big long time when we will be able to divide the most part of world into two different population zones having their own requirement and needs, and this will become an exponential growth taker. Thirdly, which I see, especially talking about India, traditionally Indian ecosystem has been a family driven ecosystem where we used to have a family, friends, and support groups. So it was easier for a person to navigate them through their own life downhills. But when we think it as going forward, since the families have become nuclear, the life downhill will need a external support, virtually giving an impetus to the mental counseling or the life coaching segment of this wellness economy, which will be a third growth catalyst for the segment. So virtually these numbers are going to be exponentially growing because of the life habits that we have chosen out.
Okay. So that we also talked about, aura economy as we started this podcast. Can you help our listeners understand what exactly are we referring to with aura economy?
Aura economy is something which is very less heard of, which is something very less leveraged in India. Aura, let us define, break it into two parts. What is aura? Aura is an area, an invisible energy field around a person or a non-living thing. To help the listeners understand, we visit a hospital, we visit a crematorium, somehow we feel a bit saddened. You will agree to me this.
Mhm.
Whenever we visit a say club or a desk or a party house, we feel elated. Why? The energy of that place has impact. And we see someone, we feel happy. We see our crush, the eyes and the everything blushes out. When we see someone we don't like, we feel sad. So this is the aura is something an invisible area, invisible energy field which has potential to impact. So the aura economy leverages the product which are designed to boost the positive aura of a person and make them in equilibrium with the universe. When the products are diverse, it can be from a face care to a skin care, as simple as a lipsticks, even as simple as a haircut. Haircut is something which I have personally is my hero product. So this is one product which I sell a lot, to be honest enough. And what we call it. This is not what we call. This is something which is a very standard term in the western part of that we call as a lunar phase hair cutting or moon phase hair cutting. And this is the hero product of us in India as well. And we have more demand in US and the other parts of the world as compared to the India for the cement. So there are going to be different products based on this aura. So which is so again this is going to be a byproduct of the personalization. So we have personalized based on the aura of the person, and it can be anything.
Mhm, mhm. So that building onto this, I would like to understand that as per my understanding and knowledge, the wellness industry can be broken down into two parts. One is the wellness industry, which is based on services, wellness services, and the other is a wellness industry that's based on the wellness products out there. Now, we can see that with the research numbers that we have been able to derive from different research papers and insights from the internet, it is an $8.5 trillion economy that we're looking by 2027. How do you see both wellness services and wellness products coming together and probably giving it a much more, an accelerated boost beyond the growth rate of 5%, 10%, probably meeting the double digits growth that you are referring to?
Definitely, the products and services are going to be hand in hand to each other.
Mm-hmm.
The simple reason is that whenever a person comes into picture into the natural healing space, the person will recommend a DIY options,
Okay.
also will recommend something which is a product, a physical product. It can be as simple as a shampoo or a lipstick or a nail paint, or it can be as big as a supplement or so. So definitely both are going to be hand in hand, and this is where the actual comes into picture. When I look at the numbers, why I call these numbers to be a bit say conservative note. I personally see the numbers from the products are something which has not been tapped on, and I will give an example for that. If we imagine the number of market size of Ayurveda 5 years or 7 years before and today, the growth is something which has been an exponential, and it has beaten the estimates. This
Yeah.
is not something which has followed the estimate, it has actually beaten the estimates. And even the numbers are still yet promising. So definitely the products and services will fuel to each other. Right now, another thing is that if a product company or a service company are working in loss, they're working in their own arenas, own fields with a different mindset.
Mhm.
However, with the current say collaboration coming out of the picture, with the more integration of approach, a service company venturing into product company and a product company venturing into a service company, or both collaborating together, will put more say expansion to the metric.
Got it. And I, totally agree on this, where if we can, or somebody listening to this podcast, an aspiring entrepreneur in the natural healing space, can find a way to marry wellness services and wellness products, it's gonna be a game changer, and I believe it's the need of the hour. As we were talking about, in one of the previous episodes, we discussed about personalization in this space, or giving free consultations before a product is being bought. We I guess we talked in the very first episode with you, Sidharth, on the same lines. So I totally agree on this. If somebody can find a way to strike that right balance between the two, it's gonna be a game changer. Um, One thing I would like to understand, Siddharth, in this is around the growth potential for the Indian market and the efforts being made by the Indian government. I have been seeing a lot of grants being coming into picture, a lot of policy changes happening by the Indian government to support the growth in the natural modalities that are originated in the Indian market. What are your thoughts on this? And are there any policies coming into picture which the entrepreneurs or the individual youngsters should be aware of?
You well said. Okay, the government grants are really getting aggressive. In fact, right now also the Ministry of IUC is running a Ayurveda startup competition or a grant where they are going for the innovative solutions. And another thing is it's not about grants. So this is an industry where you can always build upon based on the customer revenue.
Mhm.
Your customer funds are more than enough. Second thing is that this is something why I am very optimistic of India. You visit any part of India, you will have certain things which has a potential to be leveraged to build upon or something. Today, when we think of imagine of Rishikesh, imagine Rishikesh of 10 years before and Rishikesh of today, we see lot of influx of tourists and the visitors specifically for yoga retreats.
Yes.
If we go to down south, we see people visiting for aromatherapies. We see visiting for say wellness resorts.
Yeah.
This is second thing. This is wellness tourism is another area which quite often get that just to see that I was recently reading somewhere. There are many people who are opting to do a travel just to help their own post, just to help, and whether be it a spiritual tour, whether it's a yoga tour or a meditation tour, this is where the actual thing is going to come into picture. So definitely government is aggressive, but at the same time, the government will also have to. Right now, the policies are focused on the corporates or the companies. However, what we need to think as a country, we will have to say a kind of identify cities in coordination with the state governments and the central government, which has the potential of a wellness tourism, and how supportive infrastructure can be built upon. I will tell you a very practical situation. I was conducting a retreat somewhere in Uttarakhand, and the complete mobile network was down. And you cannot predict every eventuality. Unfortunately, one of the participants she had a food poisoning. She was an expat, and she had a food poisoning, and we had to arrange resources to send her back physically to be able to do that. The simple reason that connectivity is weak. So at the end, we will have to figure out that infrastructure first. If we are able to put the infrastructure first around the wellness hotspots, like what we have done, like what the government has done, like SEZs for the IT growth. So this is the time to build wellness economy zones in those hotspots, and this is boom boom. Both your product and both your second thing is that still a majority of India lives in Bharat. When we think of a aura-based product, say for example, if a company is building a product from a plant will not manufacture in a lab. It will be grown on earth, on a soil. That means the indirect revolution impact on a large farmer base. So this is something like farmer education, like the seeds, the grants for those, the insurance for those crops, fixing the MSPs. So this is not a subject of a say a company. This is subject of a government. So this is virtually it is high time for the Ministry of Ayush to expand its wing. So if I'm at the place of the government at this point of time, it is essential to expand this or expand the Ministry of Health and include how we can leverage this, how we can the Ministry of Tourism, the Ministry of Infrastructure need to come together, have a political consultation, how this wellness economy zone, WEZ, I can call it my word, can be grown out, and this has a potential to revolutionize the Indian economy at least by 500 to 600 billion dollar if policy decisions support it.
I could not agree more with you. It's high time that government identifies these wellness economy zones, and these needs to be set up. As far as I'm aware, I have heard that Uttarakhand government is working around setting up similar zones. They are working, and Uttarakhand government is very active on this particular front as well. But you have given me an idea. I'm not sure how to articulate it, but probably to one of the listeners who could work on this, there's a huge potential where you can enable the farmers in the industry who are growing the required herbs and shrubs of the natural nature, which have their principles and implementations in the natural healing industries, be it for medicine or any form of cure or healing purposes, and help them connect with the end consumers. If that sort of network or nexus any
So,
individual can
and
build on.
second thing, one more thing which I can think of is that all these wellness products and retreats right now do not have an insurance support,
Mhm.
do not have a support from anyone. if the government or IRDA comes into picture or a company comes into picture which somehow is able to reimburse it or somehow able to tax incentivize it. Say, for example, I will tell you a very practical example. When the government of India introduced that tax rebate of preventive health checkup, the preventive health checkup are actually gone up. I know there will be people who might misuse that, but I will say so to fuel the economy, we will have to bring in a thought where people spend. And this can be a great idea for say a new insurance company as well to experience. And there are a couple of companies say in say especially employee health segment, corporate health segment where they are covering those kind of wellness experiences as well. So if it comes to open general public, it's going to be again a great growth driver both from the company perspective as well as from the perspective of complete industry.
So that I would like to echo with this with a response where we have been trying to find a connect in an insurance industry for last 4 years, where we can work out on two fronts. One, what you just mentioned, where the reimbursements can be enabled. So we recently had a customer whose policy had this, opportunity where he can get reimbursement for his Ayurvedic treatments. And that was the only reason he went for a detox program at one of our centers, and was a much needed program for him. So that's one place where we have been looking for collaboration. And the second place is to enable and empower your consumers at the end. With preventive healthcare checkups coming to picture, or extending yoga courses, or meditation courses, insurance companies can actually bring down the claims which they have to reimburse or give back to the consumers as part of their
True,
medical
very true,
expenses.
very
So
true, very true.
probably if insurance companies and IDA can pick up this, the insurance companies revenues could skyrocket if they just start actually taking care of their consumers instead of just
True,
becoming
true,
a
very
money
true.
making machine.
Very true, very true. Because this is something if I talk about the insurance companies, they give annual health checkups. If they start adding that as the annual wellness packages as well, which helps the preventive well-being, so that is going to be win-win for both of them.
Yes, totally. I totally, believe in this, that insurance companies are doing a really great work in this area, where they are supporting a lot of consumers who are not able to, arrange that cash at the moment of emergency. But if they can, also add this vertical, it would take their overall brand image as well as revenues to the next level. Those are
True.
my thoughts. So let's conclude by understanding the global scenario of the wellness industry, and where actually does India stand in that global landscape.
So see, when I talk about India as a global landscape, I begin with the conversation that the next decade is going to be the wellness. So if India has to become a say $5 trillion or $6 trillion economy in next say 5 years or so, the wellness can be that growth driver. Because right now, even if we see the last couple of years, the last 5 or 7 years, there are many influence on the yoga. The people are visiting India for the yoga purposes. And when we brand it as a solution, and similarly we see the Ayurveda export. The Ayurveda export is also rising. So definitely India is well prepared, poised to capture this wellness economy or aura economy with both hands, provided that we play our moves at the right point of time before it's late.
Yep. I would just like to add one follow-up question to this. I have seen this trend happening in India, where a lot of us Indians don't accept the things that are native to us. But once they go outside India and come back in a very westernized manner, we go gaga over it. Even when it was about yoga or Ayurveda or any other Indian originated modality, uh, I know of a lot of international brands. They pick up their raw materials from Kerala, various farms in Kerala or other parts of India. They take back to their respective manufacturing units in international locations. They would just add the required essences to it and bring back. And we Indians are ready to pay thousands for it, where we're not ready to pay hundreds to a farmer for it. How can this particular mindset be changed, and we Indians become vocal for our local products?
There are two things, in fact, two or three things associated to this. The first thing is that I was advocating previously that as your industry, we will have to bring in regulations that can help us to give a confidence to the user. Say, for example, if I am going to today buy a mobile phone, I have a ISI mark, which will certify your CE mark. If this my product has a say SAR in control. So something kind of ecosystem that can be built for all the natural healing modalities that will give a natural impetus. Second thing which I feel there is a lot of stigma of feeling inferior. So this is a more of a perception. This is where the industry players will have to come together, like a trade body or like a something kind of that. Because feel free to add if I'm missing. I don't see a wellness focused industry body. Like if I go for into IMI or other industry bodies, there are many. But if I talk about wellness as a natural healing as an industry body, it's not. If we come together under one umbrella as industry body and do some or say educational campaign like AMFI does for the mutual funds, it can be going to be a great booster for the complete segment. So it is more of a perception game. Third thing is that why we are accepting that question, that there are two things. The perception becomes it will be good. Second thing is that they are not simply sending them. Most of the instances, what they have done is that they have put through it a rigorous data processes and have brought out some numbers. Like
Mhm.
for example, if I talk about especially transcendental meditation, so this is where we have a lot of guidelines in AHA and ACH in US, which has actually done retrospective studies and combined with that. And we as a country could not do it, or we didn't focused on doing it out. So the simple thought is that we will have to make wellness economy process driven, not the people driven. When it becomes a process driven by our own say evidences, by own aspect, we go quite long from here on.
Got it. I totally agree with you, and most of the points that we discussed, I really echo with the setting up of wellness zones within India, wellness economy zones to be put out over here. So, listeners, if you have any thoughts around the discussion that I and Siddharth had around wellness and aura economy, and wherever you feel we can be of support to you, or you would like to share your insights on this platform and help our listeners become more aware about things, we are more than happy to host you or discuss with you. So thanks a lot, Siddharth, for coming on our platform and spreading the awareness about natural healing.
Thank you so much.